Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2004 superhero film Hellboy. The film is co-written and directed by Guillermo del Toro, and it stars Ron Perlman as Hellboy, Doug Jones, Selma Blair, John Hurt, Rupert Evans, Carl Roden, and David Hyde Pierce. Okay, the film focuses on Ron Perlman's Hellboy. The film starts with a prequel. You get to see in World War II. You get to see a young version of Professor Broom, and it's based in Scotland. And they are trying to take down the remnants of the Nazi army, who are trying to bring forth some kind of demonic portal or dimension. They managed to stop it, but not before something coming through, and that something is a baby demon that Professor Broom adopts, raises him, and many years later we get to meet him as the fully fledged Hellboy. However, this threat returns, and it's up to Hellboy and his ragtag group of vigilantes to put a stop to this hell dimension once again becoming a reality. Right, what are my thoughts on Hellboy? Well, this is, I think, an absolutely superb film. I'll be honest, I didn't watch this Hellboy film when it first came out. It didn't interest me. And the reason why it didn't interest me is because I didn't know an awful lot about Hellboy. And, I just not really that bothered. So it was a number of years later when it came out when I saw this for the first time, and it blew my mind as to how good it was. I absolutely loved it. There are some actors who are like born for certain parts. You look at them, you can't imagine anybody else doing it, and it seems like the part was just tailor-made for them, like perfect casting. It doesn't happen a huge amount, but when it does, it's just like lightning in a bottle. Ron Perlman, in my opinion, is Hellboy. I can't think of any more perfect casting than him as Hellboy. And I know we've had David Harbour, and we've had that new one recently, and they've all done decent jobs at trying to be Hellboy, but they don't come close to Ron Perlman as Hellboy. He's got the look, he's got the attitude, he's got the humour, he's just got it, and it just absolutely worked. I think one of the brilliant things about this film is the effects as well. It's not all CGI and all that kind of stuff, thankfully. It has its moments, but a lot of this stuff is practical, and it's not just Hellboy that looks fantastic, and he does look absolutely fantastic, but you've got Doug Jones as Abe Sapien, who does a fantastic job. Doug Jones is like the physicality of Abe, and then you've got David Hyde Pierce doing the voice of Abe. And he looks fabulous as well. He really does. And then I love the design of the bad guys as well. They look really cool. The German, I forget the name now, the German officer who's like almost clockwork, most of him. I thought that was a superb idea. And the villains felt very sinister in this film. I understood kind of the plan they wanted to do, and the fact that how and why they needed Hellboy to make it work. Obviously he's the key to opening this like hell dimension, if you like, and I like that. Some more perfect casting here as well is obviously the late great John Hurt as Professor Broom. Again, it feels like perfect casting here, and I really loved the actor that they got to play him as a young Broom, Kevin Trainer. Brilliant job of portraying a young version of John Hurt and this Professor Broom character at the beginning of the film. And we really do get that sense of the father and son relationship between Hellboy and Professor Broom. And you really get to feel that sense of loss when we lose Professor Broom in the film. It really tears him apart. I wasn't as enamoured with the love interest, the love story between him and Selma Blair's character, Liz. I thought it worked better in the second one. Their relationship. This one was a bit like he was a bit like a puppy dog chasing around. You know what I mean? Acting like a spoilt teenager. And that was a point, I know, but for me, it kind of detracted from the rest of the film. Those hellhound creatures were really well designed, and they were very, very difficult to kill, which I liked about them. There's some great action sequences in this film. The whole epic scene with when they first meets this, hellhound creature, that massive battle that ensues that ends up going out on the streets. Very well done. And then the ending as well. I thought, while the ending felt like it felt rushed a little bit to me, when they ended up going out and then having to dig up the grave to find directions to where they're going and all that kind of stuff. It kind of felt like they were just they needed to finish the film, so they kind of just ended it. I felt like the film needed another 10 or 15 minutes of breathing time between the death of Professor Broom, and then, to the conclusion of the film, and it just felt like it moved into that a little bit more, and Hellboy's cracking jokes and stuff seemingly 10 minutes earlier, his, earthly father is been murdered sort of thing. But it is an enjoyable conclusion to the film. I think the big battle with the big creature at the end is debatable in regards to some of the effects that you see. I think this film is at its strongest when it's all like practical effects. But I liked this film, and I liked the simplicity of the story. If you like, it didn't try and overcomplicate things. It kept things fairly simple. It was a perfect introduction of this character that not only who I didn't know, I would imagine many of the audience members who went to see this at the time, or didn't, or went to see it, or saw it afterwards on DVD or something. I would imagine a lot of people had never heard of Hellboy. It obviously had its following, Hellboy, and that following is probably a lot bigger now. Much of that is down to these movies, the two movies that Benicio del Toro did. Guillermo del Toro. But yeah, I think this is a really great introduction to the character that audiences were allowed to go along for the ride, really engage with the character. Great introduction to the world, great world building, and some spectacular effects. I think we're always impressed with anything Guillermo del Toro does with movies and cinema, and this is no exception. So I really enjoyed revisiting these Hellboy films. I revisited this and the second one. I will put a review up for the second one at some point over Christmas and New Year if I get the chance. But yeah, fabulous films. Really enjoyed revisiting them, and it reminded me how great these films were and how not so good the follow-up films were in regards to the David Harbour one and the most recent one that came out this year. I don't think either of them are terrible films, but they absolutely do pale in comparison to this classic one, in my opinion. So yeah, thanks for joining me for this review, guys. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on the Hellboy movies, and I will of course be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.